Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to see you all here today. We're going to give just another minute for people to trickle in, and then we'll get started. Thank you again. So, good morning again. I always like to start our webinars right on time. I know you guys are busy, and so I want to be respectful of that time. So, welcome. This is a little bit of a revision of a webinar that is on our website of donor retention is dollar retention. And that is so true. When you are retaining a donor, you have an opportunity for a second gift. If you retain the donor, you have an opportunity to build a relationship. Without that relationship, there is no chance of legacy giving, of future contributions. So retention is such an important topic, but unfortunately it gets shoved aside. And so today we're going to focus on 5 strategies to improve donor retention. Sorry, I went too fast. So call me your firefighter today while I introduce these 5 strategies to improve your donor retention. Some of these will be kind of nothing new, but hopefully I'll give you a couple of ideas that will help you start today improving your donor retention. Now, I know all of you are like, oh my God, I don't have the time. But here at the Nonprofit Success Group, we are really on fire about this topic. And we've all been in your shoes. We've all been development officers. We've been executive directors. The stress of everything happening all at once can be bluntly overwhelming. So we're here to introduce some new strategies, some tried and true that we hope will change everything. So just a little bit about me. I am an expert in nonprofit technology. I also ran customer success programs for a number of tech organizations. I'm a CFRE, and I'm committed to kind of the new concepts around fundraising. It's not just all about chasing the major gift, it's about building a foundation of support for your organization. The Nonprofit Success Group, we are a consulting firm, but we're a little different than some that you may see. We are more hands-on. We are more feet on the street, get our hands dirty. And I'll talk more about that as we go along. But this isn't a commercial about us. It is a time for you to sit back, listen, and absorb some new strategies. So in the most recent Giving USA report, it indicated that individual giving is down 10%, and that is adjusted for inflation, of course. They cite causes such as fears of the economy, looming recession. But the bottom line is it's a scary time. Um, and if you couple that with the fact that most of your donors, over 30% of your donors, are not giving you a second gift. I just did an event with a client last weekend, and of the 130 people that showed up, almost half of them were new donors. And so I asked the client, I said, what are you doing to engage them? They're like, oh my gosh, we can't think about it. We've got so much going on just to, you know, unpack the tchotchkes and put things away. There is nothing more important than donor retention, because if you don't do it, you won't succeed. If you think about it, if you're able to get that second gift, then your ability to retain that donor in the long run grows exponentially. So this is from the Fundraising Effectiveness Report. And if you're not subscribed to that, I highly recommend. So compare your donor retention rate to those in the industry so that you can really compare where you're at. But this is a very telling trend. We're not paying attention to our numbers. Now, if our for-profit compadres had these kind of stats, they would close their doors. So Blackbaud, the big guy in our space, they only have about a 77% retention rate. And a lot of that is due to Razor's Edge adoption. But if you compare that to Apple, for example, Apple has almost a 92% retention rate, and Android is growing. We've got to really focus in, and this is by using some of the strategies that our for-profit people deploy. In our world, we can't offer 2-day shipping. We can't lock them in with Apple Pay, but we can do some things better. If you look at this, you can see that a first-time donor retention rate is low, but a reactivated donor goes up almost twice. But a donor that gives that second gift, you have a 56% retention rate of that. So what we really want to focus in on is how do you get that second gift? So why do donors leave? According to that same Giving USA report, these are the top 5 reasons why donors leave, with number 5 being a much lower percentage. In fact, most people have great trust in the nonprofit community. In fact, 87% expressed a high level of confidence in their community organizations to do their jobs. But they have these bad experiences. They don't get their acknowledgement on time. They don't get a thank you. They don't feel the same level of commitment back from the organization. But I'm going to tell you what I believe the main reason is you give them no reason to stay. You don't express your real gratitude and ask them to stay. In the technology world, there's something called customer success. In fact, it's replaced customer service in most organizations. And you see this term being bandied about. But it's really the methodology of ensuring that your goals and their goals align. So it's very relationship focused. And for the past several years, I've run customer success teams focused on helping nonprofits use technology well to support your goal. The way I did this was by truly listening and following some basic best practices, alignment of goals. Every time you buy a piece of software, it's the new shiny tool, but then you get it and you realize it's harder to learn than you thought. It's not doing what you thought it was going to be. And instead of reaching out, you put it on the shelf. Customer success takes a different approach. It looks at, are you engaged with the platform? Are you onboarding? Did you get the training that you need? Am I marketing to you properly? Am I segmenting my conversation with you in a way that makes sense? So when I saw this number of, 65% of donors don't give a second gift, it dawned on me that this methodology of customer success really shifts well into donor retention. And it may be a way to turn this number around. So introducing this donor success model. So it's the business methodology of ensuring that a donor achieves their desired outcomes while supporting your organization. It is focused on making sure that the donor is getting what they want out of this transaction so that it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So I always get asked, okay, what the heck? What's a desired outcome? There's common threats as to why donors give to your organization. An affinity to your mission, a social desire to make a difference, religion, family, friends. But their desired outcome is relatively unknown unless you ask them, unless you have that conversation. And yeah, we're going to send our thank you notes. Yeah, we're going to do this. But we're not taking that next step to ask them, hey, why did you come out to this golf tournament? What did you learn about our organization? What can we tell you? So the simple definition of an outcome is this. But in the words of several donors, the results of that activity is somewhat underwhelming. So these are the reasons that they stop giving. The bottom line is that outcome many times is not a good thing. And we've got to change that. We've got to look at this more intentionally and understand why a donor, specifically a first-time donor, is giving to your organization. But the very first thing you have to do is you have to know your numbers. Your CRM ought to be able to give you a pretty basic baseline on what your retention is. Because you know what? You can't measure what you don't know. So if you do nothing else, analyze this number. I know, but we don't have time. We're busy. So if your CRM isn't doing that, again, raising my hand, we will help you get there, because you're never going to improve your retention if you don't get on the train. If you don't understand that you're getting nowhere with a donor database that's stagnant, so you need to understand that retention rate, and we can help. That is what we do. And without going into too much math, it matters. If you look at it this way, if you have, let's say you have 6,000 donors, and your current retention rate is about 30,000, that means you're retaining about 1,800. If you can increase that to have 600 newly retained donors, that equals real money to your organization. It's real revenue, it's retained revenue, but the trickle effect, the ripple effect, is profound. Now, your LIBUNTs, your SIBUNTs, all of that can inform you on where to spend your time. However, this data should only be used to help manage your priority. Every CRM allows you to do a last year but not this year, some years but not this. But what do you do with that data? So the most important thing is first arrive. You want to operationalize your approach to this. Now, most nonprofits I work with, they say, well, we do a SIBUNT mailing once or twice a year. We do a LIBUNT once a year. Okay, that's great. But I would challenge you that you need to do it more often. But you also want to first make sure that your technology stack allows you to use this information well. So the first question to ask yourself, ask your team, is does your CRM, your donor database, allow you to see this information natively? If so, great. Run your report, sort, segment, and analyze it. Don't just send it to your mail house and say, we're sending this letter to our past donors. You may have some donors in there, and I'll give you a great example. I'm working with an organization that they got a test gift from a donor who has quite high capacity. They just sent him kind of a standard acknowledgement, and they sent it very, very late. Well, the donor mentioned to me just the other day that he will never give them another gift. I find that very sad. But part of the reason is she ran a report and just sent the letters, not reviewing, looking at some of the relationships, having other eyeballs look at the report, and really analyzing that data. If so, she would have noticed the name of this person, her board members knew who he was, and the experience would have been different. If you feel like you don't have time, again, Nonprofit Success Group, we are not just talking heads. We can dive into your data, we can sort, we can segment, we can help you analyze it. No matter what part of the country you are in, we can run some scoring against any database to help you understand those lapsed donors in order to improve that retention. So now let's go back to talking about that first time donor. Once you boarded the train and know your number, now we're on this journey. Now, a lot of webinars talk about the onboarding journey, the donor journey, sorting, segmenting, etc., and it can be bluntly overwhelming. You know, this is an example of what we use as a sales approach in customer success. It's a lot of touch points. It's a lot of information. It's a lot, and I completely get that. So what onboarding is really designed to do is creating a strong early experience. So let's give you a little more simple template. This is your 30-day cadence. First of all, you're going to do a thank you, welcome email. For example, you attended our golf tournament and you were a first-time golfer. I hope you enjoyed that day as much as everybody else did. Is there anything new I can tell you about our organization? Here's a brochure. Here's a link to our website. Thank you again. Look forward to talking. So that's your simple welcome, and that needs to be done as soon as possible, ideally within the first 24 hours, but definitely within that first week. Okay, now let's go to our second week. We're going to look at that report of those first-time donors. We want to understand why they are giving. Now, in this instance that I'm showing you about this golf tournament, I know that they showed up because probably a buddy invited them. Beautiful Friday in Southern California, great golf course, I got to tell you. So again, we're going to follow up in a week or so and say, hey, we've got this other event coming up. Hey, did you see Sound of Freedom? Here's how we align with some of the goals of that. Hey, I know that blah, blah, blah invited you. Save the date for our next year's golf tournament and bring 4 of your friends. And that can be a simple email. It can be just a snail mail. Whatever it is, you want to do that next. And that's kind of your initiation. You're asking them in a very soft way to make that second gift. Then after 30 days, you're going to follow up again. And that can be a phone call, an email. I really like phone calls. Just sit there on a Friday afternoon and call down your list of first-time donors. Ask them if they have any questions about the organization. Thank them again for the gift. You're not asking for a second gift at this point. You are simply creating a great early experience with your organization where they're like, wow, she really took the time to call me. Wow, they really do care about their donors. That's the impression that you're trying to leave them with. So that's the onboarding experience that you want to create. Now, the second is once you boarded the train and you know your numbers, now you've got a little bit more of a journey in front of you. Again, talking about the supporter journey can get really repetitive, and it's hard to do, but I call this retention marketing. So you've got your donor, you've welcomed them well. Now it's key to retaining them. And this isn't just about retaining that first time donor, although that's imperative. Your retention marketing strategy should really replace that spray and pray that is being done by every nonprofit in the world. So what does that mean? What that means is it follows some of the same principles of onboarding. It's segmentation and targeting. The point is to know the people behind your numbers. So what we tend to do is, talk to, this group of people the same way we talk to this group of people. And we understand time is of the premium. And, even with the resources of a for-profit entity, it's really difficult to pull out your segmentation and understand what we call the personas of each one of your donors. So for our purposes, I'm going to call your ideal customer profile your above average donor. So let's say your average donation, and this is again easy to figure out by analyzing your data. Say your average donation is $100. So you want to talk to this group as a whole, yet you want to talk to this person and all of the people like them more specifically. So how do you do that? Well, it's really just about crafting the message. So most of our clients use the same message to acquire a new donor as they do to solicit the gift, as well as to steward new donors. But that's a mistake. And that is why we see this type of retention numbers. You want to create a cadence. And a cadence is simply different touch points of communication. And if you look at this, it includes some things out of the ordinary. LinkedIn, for example, Twitter follows, Instagram relikes, and then we do have something like the breakup email, but it's about inspiring your donors to do more. So create a cadence to go to your segmentation. And the key to this is understanding where they are in your journey so you can use your time and your resources wisely. Now, there are literally thousands of tools out there to help you write your content. ChatGPT, anyone? But just a couple that can advise on how to create your cadence. And this is just kind of a simple example for you to follow. There's several tools that I use in my business that I've turned the nonprofit sector into or onto. Things that allow you to follow, like LinkedIn. Nonprofits are not using LinkedIn as properly as they should. If you've got a major donor, you should be following them on LinkedIn. You should be engaging with their content. Same thing with your other places in your social media. But it's talking to them in the voices they understand. One great strategy is if you have kind of a minimal social media presence, but you've got some donors that are really engaged with your content, see where they are in their donor journey. They may not be giving to you via email campaigns or newsletters, but perhaps you can engage them in Facebook, through Instagram. If that's the platform and the voice that they like to communicate in, you're missing the boat if you're not talking to them in those voices. They will appreciate you meeting them where they live. Now, that was a complicated. So this one's a little bit easier. And I will share this presentation at the end, anybody that requests it. But the key is mix your messaging. You want to vary your communication so that you're engaging with the donors more than just when you ask for money. So this shows you 4 different communication threads. Onboarding, somebody who's only made 1 gift. Retention marketing, a donor that's made that 2nd gift or even a 3rd gift. And then your above average donors, where you want to give them an opportunity to support you in greater ways. So you're going to use a variety of tools. You're going to use video. You're going to use phone calls, emails. Again, is really easy to embed Vimeo into an email, and you get huge results with it. But also remember, if you go through a full year of really strong communications with donors, operationalize your approach to bless them and release them so that you can focus on those donors where this type of storytelling, this type of asking, this type of planning makes sense. Just to always make sure that they know that they are the heart and soul of your organization, and they are the ones you want to engage deeper with. Again, this can very easily be operationalized so that you're doing the job well without a lot of resources being wasted on things that don't make sense. Oh, you'll hear me say this a lot, is I want you to be asking with intention, diving into your data with intention. So now that you've made them happy, you've created a good cadence of phone calls, emails during that first 30 days. Now they're happy. Now you want to start asking with intention and start seeking that 2nd gift. And again, it's important to understand what was their desired outcome. What did they want to accomplish by coming to that golf tournament, by giving that gift, responding to that newsletter, engaging with you in social media? So how do you do that? Well, first of all, it's asking the right question. You know, it may seem a bit daunting and a bit overwhelming, but it's really not. Did they come in through a fundraiser or golf tournament? Just ask them to make another one-time gift. Say, you know what, we had such success with the golf tournament. We're coming into end of summer slump. Won't you consider making a 2nd gift? Are they already a frequent donor? They give 1 or 2 gifts a year. Ask them to become a recurring donor. Monthly donation, and the statistics are all over the place. And this is a strategy everybody knows. That one of the best ways to retain a donor is to get them to become a recurring donor. I feel like that horse has been beaten, and I don't want to be another one doing that. But use your data. Use your data. Don't just ask everybody to be a recurring donor. Many times, a brand new donor, that'll put them off because everybody else is doing it. Now, I love this one. Ask them to fundraise for you. Ask them to donate their birthday. So if you've got somebody that brought a foursome to a golf tournament, say, we are so grateful for you doing this. Would you consider becoming a fundraiser for us? Here's our peer-to-peer link. Just ask other people in your network to support our organization. You don't get any leverage with that. Ask them to purchase a ticket to an upcoming event. But the key is, again, doing it with intentionality, using your data to inform what that next ask should be. And we know empirically, great word that I can't say, is if you ask right and you get that second interaction, then you're going to have huge results. But it's being intentional with that ask. Some other ideas that just came this morning is, if you don't have a giving circle, that is a great way to move someone that's not going to be a recurring donor, but gives at a certain threshold, bump them up using your giving circles. Set up those cadences. There's the 120-day Let It Ride. That's the one that I showed earlier. And that really allows you to do a one-to-one approach versus a one-to-many. Looking at your above average donors versus your everyday donors, but set up those cadences so you are communicating with them properly and moving them down your pipeline of giving. I also love this idea, and I wish I could claim it, but came from a client, is that once a year, do a thankathon. And you could do it once a year, you could do it monthly, but thank all of your donors that have given during that month just with a quick phone call. You can get your board involved, volunteers, and just thank you. Thank you. I really love this. And when I set up fundraising plans for my clients, I put this in on November, and we do a thankathon where we thank every single donor that gave that year with a quick phone call, a text. If we can't get them, we send them an email. If we don't have their phone number, we send them an email. But everybody gets a profound thank you at least once a year that is not associated with another ask. I want to be conscious of time, so we're going to wrap this up a little closely. But much of what I've discussed today is the intentionality of retention. And the only way that it works is if you operationalize it. I mean, guys, I know it's hard to prioritize retention when you've got acquisition strategies, you've got broaden your donor database, and then donor retention is just another thing on your plate. But it is so important, and I really can't emphasize enough. There are a couple of easy steps you can take to improve your donor retention. Even if you take away just 2 or 3 of these ideas, these are the ones I would absolutely encourage you to do in your operational. So in your marketing, you're going to have a new donor letter and a new donor email ready to go. So when you're sending your acknowledgments, those are important. It's like, hey, we appreciate you. You have a choice where you donate your money. We really appreciate you putting the faith in XYZ. Here is our newsletter. Here is a flyer. Here is a link to our website. Here is an invitation to learn more. Close with, please call me if you want to learn more. Otherwise, welcome to the family. We're grateful for your donation. And then every week, run a new donor report from your CRM. Run it every Monday morning. If you're doing a campaign, you just sent out your newsletter, or you just sent out an e-blast, run it every day. Then review the report. Are there any large donations in there? Something that is above your standard? Are there any new monthly donors? Then spend an hour or a day sending those thank yous. And again, you've operationalized it because you have that ready to go. You want to go in there and tweak it. If you know the person, make sure that it looks right. And do this every single week. Then every month, run a report of all the new donors from the last 30 days. Review that report again, and then deploy your 30-day cadence. You've welcomed. So have you initiated? Did they click on a link? Did they sign up for an event? Did they make another gift? Have they done anything in that initiation process? If not, you want to absolutely make sure that you follow up. That could be an email. I really prefer a phone call, a personal handwritten note, something in that 30 days that tells them, hey, we appreciate you. Do you want to know more? Then also, every month, the best practice is to go back 60 days and see if you've gotten a second gift and make phone calls to those people. That intentionality will pay off on future gifts if you take the time, effort, and energy to deploy these strategies. So I always hear, I mean, this is great, all great. I don't have time. Ask for help. A thankathon is a great way to involve your board. Volunteers can sort records, add tags to your database. A consultant such as us can help set up those cadences so you can focus on phone calls and building relationships. Remember that 10% increase translates into real money. Real money. But even so, even with these type of numbers, less than 20% of nonprofits have a really good donor retention strategy. So it truly does matter why we care so much about this and why we really look at your operations and tackle the technology so that it can be as operational as possible for successful stewardship programs. You know, with the numbers and the decrease in donation and the economy still challenging, taking that 10%, looking at your numbers, seeing what that would translate in you will help you sell to your organization investing in these type of strategies. And with that being said, we are offering to all of our clients this donor success model that we'll deploy it for $4,500. We'll review your data. We'll create the new donor journey along with emails, scripts, plus the 120-day donor retention cadence. We will embed this into your workflows, into your CRM system. So when we walk out the door, you can get it all done on your own. So I hope that all of this has been helpful for you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to stay on for another couple of minutes and see what you guys think. Oh, great. John, that's a great question. The question was, it'd be great to have the help to deploy the on this to deploy the customer success model, but what is the effort from our team? We asked for an hour a week from your team, plus a onboarding call. As long as we have logins and we can get access to the data, we'll do an onboarding call that'll take a couple of hours, and then it's a weekly check-in, and then at the end it would be another 2 or 3 hour training and deployment session. So for your team, it's about 10 hours spread out over that 6 weeks. And like I said, we get hands-on. We'll review your data, we'll review your case for support. we'll really dive deeply into what's going on, what's coming up, so that we can deploy it properly within your existing ecosystem. Great question. Oh, another good question. Have we done this successfully? We've done this successfully for 2 or 3 different organizations. And again, one of the beauties with the Nonprofit Success Group is we are always trying to put ourselves out of a job. So in both cases where we have deployed this model, we stayed on for 1 extra month to just make sure everything was going well. And one of the clients, they're already seeing I want to say a 7 or 8% increase in their revenues from new donors, as well as an additional $2,000 a month in recurring donors. So that more than paid for what they invested in our work. Great questions. Okay, so if there is nothing else, I will give you a few minutes back in your day. Please let us know if we can help you in any way. And I'll, of course, be following up with all of our attendees today. And you will get a recording of this. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.